Shalom, Most High in Christ bless. This is Officer Jediah here with IUIC Dallas, all right? So we appreciate you tuning in. And the class that we have for you right now, we're going to go into some history of the Edomites, all right? We're going to open up with 1 Maccabees chapter 12 and verse 9, all right? 1 Maccabees chapter 12 and verse 9.
1 Maccabees chapter 12 and verse 9. Therefore we also, albeit we need none of these things, for that we have the holy books of Scripture in our hands to comfort us.
Right, so we have the holy books of Scriptures in our hands, the Holy Bible. We have these Scriptures in order to give us that comfort. Because why? You see what's going on in the world. You see the tribulation that's happening to our people. You see the Donald Trump, the American government, setting up laws against us. We were just going through tribulation or going through panic because the government, it was shut down. They took away the SNAP benefits. They started to implement laws that went against us, because how just 1 or 2 years ago, they would implement a law that says, oh, it's only a misdemeanor to steal from a store under $1,000. But then a couple years later, they go ahead and they tell us, well, we're shutting down the government and you're no longer going to have your SNAP benefits. That will put our people in great tribulation, in troubles. Because what are they going to do? They're living off the government. They're going to start stealing. They'll start robbing one another. They're going to be desperate, and they're going to take things, commit theft from the stores, and they're going to end up in jail. Because they might say, you know what? You could go ahead and you could take $500, $700, so on and so forth. But that security guard is going to stop you. He's going to stop you from stealing from those stores. What you're going to do, you're going to put hands on him, then your black ass is going to end up in jail. That's how Esau builds up deceptive laws in order to manipulate us, to have us fill in the prison houses. That's why it's important for us to use this Holy Scriptures in order to give us that comfort, in order to give us that hope. Because without the Holy Bible, we'll be a lost people today. Jeremiah 17 and 4. We are lost today. We don't know who we are, where we came from, where we going. We depend on the oppressor in order to save us, in order to tell us how do we get out of here, how do we get the kingdom of heaven, how to educate us. We depend on that same oppressor. Go ahead, read that.
Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 4. And thou, even thyself, shall discontinue from thine heritage.
So how did the so-called black man and the black woman discontinue from our heritage? Through slavery, through colonialism. That's how we discontinue from the heritage. We no longer see ourselves in the Holy Bible. We see white man in the Bible. We see puffs of smoke. We just see this Bible as fairy tales. The angels are butt-naked babies with wings on their back. That's what we see the Bible as today. We don't put truth. We don't put our lives in the Bible. That's how we discontinue from our heritage. Read that again.
And thou, even thyself, shall discontinue from thine heritage.
And we discontinued because we were rebellious against the Most High God. We were rebellious against his prophets. Finish it.
That I gave thee. And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not.
So this is the land that we don't know. Even if you're watching this and you're in China, you're in Japan, you're in different countries in Africa, in the Pacific Islands, in the Oceania region, in Europe, you are serving your enemies in the land that our forefathers did not know. The land that the Lord gave us was Jerusalem.
2 Chronicles chapter 6 and verse 6. But I have chosen Jerusalem, that my name might be there. And
right. So God chose Jerusalem that his name might be there. We always want to pray out to it, Heavenly Father. We want to pray out to him saying, Lord, Lord, come save me. Lord, redeem me. Lord, help me in my job. Help me with my family. Help me with my conditions. Help me become prosperous in this land today. We want to cry out for Lord, Lord, but we're not even connecting ourselves with the history of the book. You can finish it.
and have chosen David to be over my people, Israel.
Right. And he chose David to be over my people, Israel. My people, Israel. So this is God's people.
2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 1. This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come.
Right. And we're living in those last days today. We're living in the midst of the perilous times. The perilous times that's going into the times where you find famine, you'll see earthquakes, you'll see rumors of wars, so on and so forth. We're living in those times today in 2025. Read on.
For men shall be lovers of their own selves.
So men love their own selves rather than they love the Most High God. We rather chase the feelings of what feels good. We rather chase sin because sin feels good. We want to change these feelings. We want to go out to the club. We want to have as much women or as much men as you want. We want to do what, I want to sacrifice the Lord's Sabbath in order to get a nice paying job. That's what we want to do today. Go ahead.
Covetous.
Covetous, read.
Boasters. Proud. Blasphemers. Disobedient to parents.
Disobedient to parents. Talking to your young men and young women, disobedient to parents. Sneaking around, doing what we want to do on our phones, talking to boys, talking to girls, underage, getting into relationships. Disobedient to your own parents. Read.
Unthankful.
Unthankful. Who should we be thankful for? Who should we be thankful of? We should be thankful of the Most High God. You can hold that and get the precept for that in Isaiah chapter 1, verse 3. Isaiah 1 and 3. The ox knoweth his owner, but the ass, the master's crib.
Isaiah chapter 1 and verse 3. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib.
Read on.
But Israel doth not know.
So Israel don't know our owner, and we do not know our master's crib. Who owns the nation of Israel is the Most High God. Who owns the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans? It's the Most High God who owns us. But we don't know our owner, so we don't know who we should be obedient to. We think our owner is a so-called white man, or it's a so-called, or it's just a puff of smoke, and nobody's seen or nobody heard of him ever before. Read it again from the top.
The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib.
Right.
But Israel doth not know.
But Israel we do not know. Because we got a lot of deep brothers and sisters who would say nobody ever seen God, or that's not his true name. Nobody ever seen, we don't know who God is. That's all nonsense.
But Israel doth not know. My people doth not consider.
Right. So we are God's people and we don't consider that. So we're going to go back to 2 Timothy chapter 3 and we'll read verse 2.
2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 2. For men shall be lovers of their own selves.
So men shall be lovers of their own selves. Go ahead.
Covetous.
Covetous.
Boasters.
Boasters.
Proud. Blasphemers. Disobedient to parents.
Disobedient to parents.
Unthankful. Unholy.
Unholy. What you see when you turn on the TikTok, I wanted to say BET. We're not really on BET no more. But you turn on YouTube and TikTok, the social media. You turn on your Instagram. What do you see? You'll see the nation of Israel all over it acting unholy. Because I'm going to put it in perspective for those who may not know. Holy means separate. The nation of Israel is supposed to be a separate people. To when the other nations look on the nation of Israel, they're going to know something's different about these guys. Like when you see Arab women, how they're dressed and they're covered from their head to their toe, and Arab men, some of them have that turban wrapped around their head, or they may wear a special type of clothing, and how they're unified and how they join together. Other nations, they'll see that and they'll know that those are separate, those are Arab people. But when it comes to us, we want to cleave onto the man who oppressed us. We want to cleave onto the other nations. We want to act like white people. We want to live, do what we want, do what thy wilt. We want to live the sinful life that the white man has allowed us to live here in America. We want to be like them and join on to them. That's living a life that is not holy. Read verse 3.
Without natural affection.
Without natural affections. Read.
Truce breakers. False accusers.
Read.
Incontinent. Fierce. Despisers of those that do good, that are good.
Despisers of those that are good. Despisers of those that are good. You know what that goes into? Recently, the comedian Drewski, he had a social media skit talking about Israel United in Christ. Despisers of them that are good. They call us the Purple Power Rangers.
2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 3. Without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God.
Going into that sin, we love pleasures more than we love the Most High God. Read.
Having a form of godliness.
We have a form of that godliness. We may appear godly because we have a big bust down Christian cross around our neck, or we may go to church every single Sunday. You might have went to church for Thanksgiving, or you're about to go to church for New Year's. I know black folks, we go to church like Mother's Day, Easter, and New Year's. That's when black folks go to church. But that may be a form of godliness, but read the rest of that verse.
But denying the power thereof, from such turn away.
You see where it says denying the power thereof? Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 68. Denying the power thereof. Because when we bring out Deuteronomy 28 and 68 on the streets, or it might be on Clubhouse, it could be on TikTok. When we bring out this verse, the Christian brain says, I'm going to deny that. Oh, that was a figure of speech. Oh, that's not the real Egypt is not really America. Oh, that happened long time ago. Read verse 68.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
So it said the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again. The Lord, he's dealing with nations. He's dealing with the nation of Israel. So the Lord shall bring the nation of Israel into Egypt again. Now, for the Bible scholars out there, when do you see the nation of Israel going back into Egypt? You don't see it at all. You don't see that. You might see some rebellious Israelites go back there because they're dependent on Egypt. But you don't see the nation of Israel going back into Egypt as a nation. You don't see that. Why? Because the Most High God destroyed the Egyptians. He destroyed the whole Egyptology doctrine that's out there, all the hieroglyphs, all the Egyptian gods, the Ankh, Ra, the Hotep, all of that garbage that comes from Egypt. He destroyed all of those things. So don't go back into Egypt. But the Lord said this Egypt right here is going to be a spiritual Egypt. And we're going to get that too. Read it from the top. And the Lord shall do what?
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
So with ships, we went into Egypt. That's why on the back of the dollar, you see that Egyptian pyramid. So, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again. Go ahead.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
Read.
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
So, denying the powers is denying Deuteronomy 28, because that's clear as day. Let's jump over to verse 49. It's clear as day who that's talking to, who that's talking about. But denying the powers is, the Bible's not really true. When you deny Deuteronomy 28 and 68, you're saying the Bible is not true. Read verse 49.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth.
So the Lord shall bring a nation against you from far, from the end of the earth. Read.
As swift as the eagle flieth.
Now, how can you deny that? How can you deny the nation that's the eagle? You cannot deny that. Denying that's talking about the so-called white man is denying the powers of God. That's talking about the so-called white man who his national bird is the eagle. Whether you go to Rome, whether you go to Greece, whether you go to America, their national bird, they represent themselves as an eagle, right? Let's go back to, let's finish that out in 2 Timothy chapter 3.
2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 5. Having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof.
Uh-huh.
From such turn away.
Right. So from those type of people, we turn away in order to be raised back up again under Christ. Read that again.
Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition.
Right. So that man of sin must be revealed, the son of perdition.
The definition of perdition in Christian theology, a state of eternal punishment and damnation into which a sinful and unpenitent person passes after death.
Right. So the state of eternal punishment, that eternal punishment that's going into the so-called white man, that's going into Esau, the man who never paid for the atrocities that he has done on this earth. That's who it's going into. And that's what it's going to say in 2 Thessalonians. We're going to read on. Leave that definition up. We'll read on.
Verse 4. Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is...
So this is a clue. It says, this son of perdition opposeth and exalteth himself above all. Read on.
That is called God.
Above all that is called God. So who exalts himself above all that is called God is the so-called white man. Who paints himself as God? The so-called white man. Who says that there was no Genesis 1, the earth was created by the Big Bang? It's the so-called white man. Who says that hell is a red man with a pitchfork? Is the so-called white man. The definition of perdition, a state of eternal punishment and damnation in which a sinful and unpenitent person passes after death, going into hell and that hellfire. The so-called white man, he is ordained to suffer through that since the beginning, since during the time of Genesis.
Genesis chapter 4, verse 2. And she bare his brother Abel, and Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. Right,
so Abel was the keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And what did they have to do? Read verse 3.
And in process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord.
So Cain, he brought the fruit of the ground in order to offer it as a sacrifice unto the Lord. What did Abel do?
And Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof.
So Abel brought the firstlings of his flock. That's what the Lord requires from you. He requires the best of the best, the firstlings of your flock. Cain did not bring that. So what happened with Cain?
And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering. But unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And the Lord said unto Cain, Why art thou wroth? And why is thy countenance fallen? If thou dost well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou does not well, sin lieth at the door.
Right. So that's what I like to call them crocodile tears. If you don't do well, then obviously you're not going to receive the benefit if you don't do well. But what happens? They start crying, start having that sad countenance. You know who else had that sad countenance?
Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 15. Looking diligently, lest any man fail of the grace of God.
Right, so that's what Cain did. Cain fell from that grace of God. Go ahead.
Lest any root of bitterness springing up trouble you, and thereby many be defiled.
So Cain, he had that root of bitterness that was troubling his spirit. That's why the Most High God said, why is your countenance fallen? Read.
Lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright.
His countenance was very wroth. And Esau said, look, I'm going to sell my birthright for a piece of food. Read verse 17.
For ye know how that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected.
Hold on. Why would he inherit the blessing? Why would Esau inherit that blessing? Because he was the firstborn. He was born before Jacob. He was born before Jacob. And we all know that that inheritance that should go to the firstborn, right? Read that again.
For ye know how that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected. For he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears.
So he had no place of repentance, although he was crying and he was sorrowful. Let's go back to Genesis chapter 4, verse 1.
You want to start at verse 1?
Yeah, start at verse 1. Because remember, Esau was the firstborn. He would have inherited the blessing, but because of his actions, he was rejected, right? Genesis 4 and 1. I want to see who the firstborn was.
Genesis chapter 4 and verse 1. And Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord.
Right. So Cain, he was the firstborn, but he was rejected by the Most High God. Go ahead, read verse 2.
And she again bare his brother Abel. And Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground.
Right, so Abel was the keeper of sheep and Cain was a tiller of the ground. Now watch what Cain did. Jump down to verse 8.
Verse 8. And Cain talked with Abel his brother. And it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him.
Yo, that's violence right there. Cain was a violent man. Esau is a violent man. He slew his brother, and because Cain didn't do right, he killed his brother. And watch what he did. Was he remorseful or sorrowful? Read on.
And the Lord said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper?
So he gonna lie about it? Like you don't know, like you ain't try to bury the body. Read.
And he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground.
Right. So the voice of Abel was crying unto the Lord from the ground. So let's find that judgment. Go ahead, keep reading.
And now art thou cursed from the earth.
So he was cursed from the earth. Being cursed from the earth, that's when the Lord took that melanin away from Cain. He made him cursed from the earth right there. Read.
Which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. And when thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength.
Right. Remember, because Cain was that tiller of the fields. So what he was skilled in, what Cain was blessed in, the Lord took that away from him. And now we got GMOs all throughout Texas, all throughout Florida, New York, North and South America. We got GMOs everywhere because the ground cannot yield unto us the strength. Read on.
A fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth.
Right, a fugitive and a vagabond. Get the definition of a fugitive. Go on Google and just put definition fugitive.
Definition of fugitive. A person who has escaped from a place or is in hiding.
Right, so a person who has escaped from a place or is in hiding. Read.
Especially to avoid arrest or persecution.
To avoid arrest or persecution. So Cain ended up being a fugitive in order to avoid death, in order to avoid that punishment, persecution from all the other people who are living on earth at this time. So Cain ended up being a fugitive. Read. Oh, my bad. Read on. Genesis 5 and verse 13.
Genesis chapter 4, verse 13. And Cain said unto the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold.
So you got to think. He said, my punishment is greater than I could bear. That's how you know it wasn't just dealing with, okay, you killed him, so now somebody eventually is going to kill you and I'm taking melanin. No, it's going deeper than that. It's going into his offspring from generation to generation, so on and so forth. That's what it means. Because, mind you, the Lord, he's going to bring that judgment generation to generation to generation. You know, remember the judgment that, who was it? It was, King David. The Lord put judgment on King David on his house.
Exodus chapter 20 and verse 5. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God.
Right. So going into who we should serve, the Lord being a jealous God, what is the judgment he has? Read.
Visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me.
And Cain hated the Most High God. So that's why he said that my punishment is greater than I could bear. Go back to Genesis 4 and read verse 14.
Genesis chapter 4, verse 14. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid. And I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me.
Right, so it shall come to pass that everyone who finds Cain shall slay him. That's how we know that it wasn't just Adam, Eve, Cain, and Abel. There was a lot of other people that the Lord wasn't dealing with, but they was living on the earth. Remember back in Genesis chapter 1, you think the Lord just made one pigeon and one bird and so on and so forth? He didn't just make one man. He made many men, but he gave his understanding and his laws and his spirit he put on that one Adam. All right, I want to talk about Cain's children real quick. So jump down to verse 17.
Verse 17. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch. And he builded a city and called the name of that city after the name of his son, Enoch.
So Cain, he ended up going out of that land and finding different women and sleeping and marrying them and raising up children. So I want you to go to verse 22.
Verse 22. And Zillah, she also bare Tubal-Cain, and an instructor of every artificer of brass and iron.
Right. So it says Tubal-Cain was an instructor of artificer and brass and iron. That goes into weapons. Jump over to Esau's blessing now. Genesis chapter 27 and verse 39.
Genesis chapter 27 and verse 39. And Isaac, his father, answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above.
So thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and the dew of heaven from above. The Most High God divided all of the whole planet amongst different nations. So how is Isaac going to give Esau the blessing that he is going to dwell in the best parts of the land? Read verse 40.
And by thy sword shalt thou live.
That's exactly how. By your sword Esau shall live. He lives by the sword. He comes with destruction. He comes with death. Anywhere he goes, he's not voting in order to take over the land. They did not vote to take over Australia. They did not vote to take over Europe or to take over Greece. They did not vote to take over America. They came with death, destruction. They came with that sword in order for them to live in the fatness of the world. And they're still living that vagabond and that fugitive lifestyle. You want to know how we know that? Because the prophecy says this. 1 Maccabees 3 and 48.
1 Maccabees chapter 3, verse 48. and laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen sought to paint the likeness of their images.
This is how he's living that life of that fugitive and that vagabond in order to run away from that punishment. He is painting his face in the Bible saying, oh, I'm not Esau. I'm not Cain no more. Don't look at me and the things that I have done. I am God. I am the Savior now. That's what he's doing. Read that again from the top.
And laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images.
Right, so the heathen started to paint their faces in the Bible. That's how they're avoiding that punishment. Now, we're going to go to Isaiah chapter 54 and 22. Because remember, Tubal Cain, he started to make those weapons.
Isaiah chapter 54, verse 16. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire.
Right, I created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire. So the Lord put that spirit in order to develop those nuclear bombs, in order to, the whole, hell, even the COVID, the atom bomb, those warheads, all of the weapons of mass destruction that these other countries have. The Heavenly Father, he has put that spirit in them in order to create those things. Read that again.
Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy.
Right, so I created the waster in order to destroy. And he put that spirit in Cain. He put that in his son Tubal Cain, and that went all the way down to Esau. He put that spirit in them in order to destroy. That's why you have this white man. Now, let me get that video, the black and white video of Oppenheimer. We're going to listen to the whole thing. He put the spirit on this man, Oppenheimer. It was a good movie. I fell asleep during it. It was kind of boring to me, but it was good to show. I like when movies like this come out because it actually shows you what Esau has done. They got way too cocky to put this stuff out because the technology that this man has developed, that's being used today in order to kill people, in order to destroy nations. They'll develop these nuclear bombs and they'll keep them on reserve in order to facilitate different treaties and different agreements with one country to another country. And they'll use it as an excuse in order to invade another country. That's what they doing. Well, that's what, George Bush said. They got weapons of mass destruction. That's why we got to have the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. But let's listen to this whole thing because this white man said something key at the end of this video.
We knew the world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent.
Stop. So he said a few people cried, laughed, and was silent. The world should not be the same. That's when his research came to fruition, right? So he's saying people understood what this meant for the state of the world. That's why some people, they might, not have known how to react. They cried, they were silent, they was laughing. Well, read on. Play on.
I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that...
All right, stop. Hold on. Why this man always trying to act like he crying? This is in his spirit to do. But those are those same crocodile tears that Cain had, that Esau had. It's in his spirit in order to do these things. Stop crying. Just do you, man. You was crazy. I mean, you ain't just make this bomb in like one night by accident. You was doing years of research in order to do this. Why? Because they didn't want the Germans to be the only ones to have this power, so on and so forth. Now you know what he made. Now he's like, well, eventually this technology, this research, this power is going to be in the hands of our enemies. They're going to be in the hands of those overseas in the different countries, in Russia, in Germany, in Ukraine, in China, in Japan, so on and so forth. So the world is going to end.
Is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that one way or another.
All right, so the key part that I wanted right there is he said, "Now I become as death, the destroyer of worlds," going into the son of perdition. He became as death, the destroyer of worlds. That's the spirit that the Most High God put within him in order to destroy the whole planet Earth, right? So we'll move on. Go to Genesis chapter 36 and verse 1. I'm going to get a little bit of history on Esau, how they was moving in the earth.
Genesis chapter 36 and verse 1. Now these are the generations of Esau, who is Edom.
All right, these are the generations of Esau, who is Edom. Read verse 6.
Verse 6. And Esau took 2 wives, and his sons and his daughters, and all the persons of his house, and his cattle, and his beasts, and all his substance which he had gotten in the land of Canaan.
Stop. So the land of Canaan was the same land where he was born. He was born from Isaac, and he was living in the land of Canaan. Jacob was living in the land of Canaan as well. Read.
And went into the country from the face of his brother Jacob.
But eventually he left. He left. He knew he had that blessing. He left the land of Canaan. He said, "I'm going to get the fatness. I'm going to get the best parts of this earth." Read.
For their riches were more than they might dwell together.
Mm-hmm.
And the land wherein they were strangers could not bear them because of their cattle.
Read on.
Thus Esau dwelt in Mount Seir.
Yeah, so Esau dwelt in that Mount Seir. So Esau dwelt in Mount Seir. So let's get the history of Mount Seir. Deuteronomy 2 and 12. Mount Seir, Mount Seir. Was Esau the first one living in Mount Seir? Absolutely not. Deuteronomy 2 and verse 12.
Deuteronomy chapter 2 and verse 12. The Horims also dwelt in Seir before time, but the children of Esau succeeded them when they destroyed them from before them and dwelt in their stead, as Israel did unto the land of his possession, which the Lord gave unto them.
Right, so I want broadcast to pull up the biblical definition of Horites.
Definition: Horite, Horim, a people found in Mount Seir.
So Horites or Horim was a people found in Mount Seir. Read.
As early as the time of Abraham.
So these are the original people who lived in Mount Seir. It was the Horites. Read.
And conquered by Chedorlaomer, the early inhabitants, before the Edomites dispossessed them and intermarried with them.
Right. So before the Edomites came in and they dispossessed them, meaning they took them out of that land and they took control of it, and they started to marry the women. So that's how Esau got Mount Seir, if you didn't know. So Esau took that land. That's just what they do naturally. They love to take land that's not theirs, sleep with the woman, then raise up little Edomites, because the seed come from that man. They raise up Edomites amongst the land and they take over. Now they start calling themselves Greeks. They start calling themselves the people of God. That's why we have this thing here. So it says the Balfour Declaration. Let's go down a little bit.
Dear Lord Rothschild, I have much pleasure in conveying to you, on behalf of His Majesty's government, the following declaration of sympathy with Jewish Zionist aspirations, which have been submitted to and approved by the Cabinet. His Majesty's government view with favor the establishment of Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people.
Right. That's the point that I wanted right there. So the spirit that the Lord put within these people is to go into new lands and conquer them. They wanted to take the land of Israel. That's what they're talking about with that land of Palestine. They wanted to make it the home of the Jewish people. They wanted to make it the home of the Amalekites, essentially. They're not the original people of that land. Hell, neither are the Palestinians. We are the people of the land of Israel, of the city of Zion, the city of David, because God gave it to us. We are the original possessors of that land. But what the white man do? They created the bar floor declaration. Now they got white folks all up in the land claiming to be the people of God. All right, we could drop that. I have a link that says Business Insider. I want to read that link. Yep. Okay, so this link, this is when the president, Joe, what they call him, Sleepy Joe. This is when he pulled the troops out of the land of Afghanistan. This is what he did to that land. You can read it from the top.
Business Insider, Military and Defense, photos. U.S. troops leave behind everything from energy drinks to armored vehicles when they abandoned a key base in Afghanistan in the dead of night.
Right. So the U.S. pulled out of Afghanistan. What year was it? Scroll down. I got to find the year. This was like 2 or 3 years ago. They pulled out of Afghanistan, and look, July 6, 2021. They pulled out of Afghanistan, but they left tanks, airplanes, energy drinks. What the hell's going on here? Why would they leave that in Afghanistan? Who do you think gonna pick it up? We can scroll down. It got some good stuff on there. Scroll down. Who you gonna think gonna pick up this? Scroll down. Is that no? Keep going. Keep going. There should be like a section of videos. There, images. You see that? That's an Iraqi, Arab soldier right there. He's holding on to the weapons. Read the caption on that. A member of the Afghan security forces standing amid things left behind by the U.S. forces that departed Bagram, or Bagram, however you say it, that departed Bagram. So, keep going, scroll down. I'm building up to something. There you go again. So another Afghan soldier, he's just in the midst. You see all types of mattresses. Somebody left their guitar. So at the snap of a finger, they had to go. You can scroll down. All right, so scroll down a little bit. So, no, I wanted to read the caption, my bad. I want to read the caption on that. No, the one with the cars. It's not an ad. They left all of that over there. Vehicles that were left after U.S. forces left Bagram airfields. Look at all them vehicles. Read that part under the caption. Yeah.
Troops left thousands of civilian vehicles, including many that no longer had keys, and hundreds of armored vehicles such as mine-resistant ambush protected vehicles, or MRAPs.
Yeah, MRAPs. Go down. Yep, there you go. Now, this is what they call a motor pool. This is where they have all of the military vehicles, and you could see they left it behind. This is another Arab soldier just walking in the midst of an abandoned field. Read the caption on that one.
An Afghan soldier walking past mine-resistant ambush-protected vehicles, or MRAPs, that were left at Bagram.
All right, so we could drop that. So what do we see here? The white man is willing to leave millions, billions of dollars of equipment in a foreign country. They had no intention of getting that out. They're able to use our taxpayer dollars, leave it in a foreign country so that the enemies of the United States could pick up and to use against the U.S. Now you got to think, would they do that as a form of a military tactic, go to the video with the dude in a hat. Go to the video with the dude in a hat. Yeah, let's see what this guy says. Anyway, so this is a guy in Chicago. So this is Chicago, right? And he's going to talk about something that the government was doing as a form of a military tactic. All right, read on. Play on.
The situation in Chicago, man. I'm from Chicago, born and raised there. I ran those streets of Chicago and changed my life. But I want to kind of make people aware of some things that you don't know, because you never really been out there, then you wouldn't know it. And it's going to be hard to believe, but myself, for a fact, and several others that I ran with know this to be the truth. Growing up in Chicago in the early 90s, the same situation was happening. I've been in Chicago where a person came into my house and knocked on the door to come and get me early in the morning, 6:30 in the morning, and said, come with me, man. It's a crate of guns in the alley. And I got up and ran out there, and sure enough, there was a crate of guns.
All right, pause. So he said he grew up and this was a normal thing he was saying. Somebody would knock on his door and say, hey, there's a crate of guns in the alley. How the hell? I could understand maybe 1 or 2 guns being in a random alley. I could understand maybe it was 5, maybe 10 guns in an alley, which is at the maximum I could understand 10, but just laying down in the alley. But when I hear a crate of guns, I'm like, oh, hell no. Hey, black people ain't got no crate of guns. We ain't got no crate. We can't even, walk into one of them stores without getting crazy looks. And this was back, I think he said this was back in the 90s, if I'm not mistaken. He said there was a crate of guns in the alleys. Pull it back a couple seconds.
And I got up and ran out there, and sure enough, there was a crate of guns. And during that time when we in it, you're not thinking about where did the guns just come from? You never think about that type of stuff, like where did the guns come from and why are they here? But now that I'm older, I can kind of tell you that it's a diabolical plot.
Okay, hold it. He said it. I'm older and I understand now it's a diabolical plot. He said it's a plot.
1 Ezra chapter 5, verse 72. But the heathen of the land, lying heavy upon the inhabitants of Judea, holding them straight, hindered their building, and by their secret plots and popular persuasions and commotions, they hindered the finishing of the building in all the time that King Cyrus lived.
So it says the heathen has done this. The heathen was the one building up those popular persuasions, building those secret plots in order to hinder the building. Because Chicago had, I want to say carnally speaking, Chicago, it had a lot of potential to show the whole rest of the U.S., all of the African Americans, to show them the way on how to go. Because think, if they put all of that strength that they had, all of the hatred that they had against one another, if they put that hatred against the so-called white man, the true enemy, they could have showed the rest of the U.S., all the blacks and Hispanics, they could have showed them the way. How do we prosper as a nation of people? I know there was a big Black Panther movement in Chicago back in the 60s. Chicago is one of them big cities, but they'll leave a crate of guns out, and we're going to say, you know what? They're going to kill themselves this way. We'll just drop it here, boop. We'll just put a little bit over here, a little bit over there, and see what they do. Because guns got serial numbers. You should be able to track it down. But nope, they got some popular persuasions, some secret thoughts. They got Harry and Larry and Jeff together, and they said, look, we could just leave these guns here, and we could just sign it away that we got robbed. And all of a sudden, you have what's going on in Chicago. So let's drop that real quick. Let's drop that. That's all what I wanted. Wait, I wanted to read the comments because I screenshotted some comments over there.
I remember back in 1982, I bought my first gun, a .357 Magnum, from a friend of mine on 115th Street, Wild 100s in Chicago. I asked him, where did he get this brand new gun from? Where did he get this brand new gun still in the box? His exact words were,
this is a brand new gun in a box. They had the boxes. For those of you who bought a gun before, it will come in like a case or box or something. It was a brand new. It wasn't like somebody dropped it. Read on.
His exact words were, they were walking along the tracks and there were 2 crates of gun over on the side of the junkyard. When they opened up the crates, they were full of all kinds of guns. I got a .357 Magnum and a .380 automatic. I'm from Chicago, and this story is absolutely, positively true.
Read the next one.
Hutchinson, J.C. Remember the pallet of bricks for the BLM riots? Rummy B7461. The ATF gave guns to the Mexican cartels, so I don't doubt what this dude says.
Right. Drop it. So, I'm running out of time. So we established a couple things. We established that Esau, he created guns, he creates weapons. That's within his spirit from the time of Cain. He's willing to leave weapons not only in Chicago, but over in Afghanistan. Why? In order to have all of those secret plots. Because they're going to pick those weapons up. They're going to learn how to use them, how to break them down, how to create new ones. And they will say 10 years later, oh, well, all of a sudden the Afghans, they got all of these weapons, so on, and we got to go over there and we got to invade the land. But you gave him the weapons to begin with. So we established that, right? Now we're going to touch on the time of the Greeks. 1 Maccabees 1:1. We're going to read 1:1, and BT could get that. There's a definition a map. We're going to get that map.
1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 1. And it came to pass, after that, Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece.
Okay. So I want to deal with something right here. It said, Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim. So who was living in that land of Chittim? Let's get 1 Chronicles chapter 1 and verse 7.
1 Chronicles chapter 1 and verse 7. And the sons of Javin, Elisha.
Hold on. And the sons of who?
Javin.
Right, so keep that in mind. The sons of Javin. Read.
Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, Dodanim, and Dodanim.
So the sons of Javin is Kittim. So that same Kittim right there is the land that Alexander the Greek came out of.
Kittim, Genesis 10:4. A son of Yavin equals Greece. Kittim or Chittim is usually taken to be the Syntheses or Cyprians from the Phoenician colony of that name on Cyprus.
Right, so stop there. So as we read 1 Maccabees chapter 1, let's get back to it 1 second. 1 Maccabees chapter 1, going into that history of Alexander the Greek.
1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim.
Right, so this land of Chittim is that land of Kittim. All right, it's just a different pronunciation because the Greeks was ruling during this time. They say things different. It's not that hard to understand, okay? All right, so Genesis 10:4 says the son of Yavan, which is Javin, right? That Y is a J. We use J's now, okay? Don't make it too complicated. So the son of Yavin. Now go down a little bit to however.
However, orally, Chittim suggests Hittites, who, as we know, were the original peoples from whom the various Ionian groups became formed.
Right, and we read about that in Deuteronomy early in the class. Jump down to the reference in Genesis 10.
The reference in Genesis 10:4 links Kittim to his grandfather, Japhet, or Japheth, one of the three sons of Noah, Genesis 6 and 10.
Right, so that's how we know this is another land in which the Greeks took over, in which Esau, through his blessing, took over. And then they call it Cyprus. And we read about Cyprus throughout the book of Acts, where Barnabas and Paul going back and forth to and from Cyprus. It was one of the Greek colonies, one of the areas that the Greeks ruled over at this time. All right, so let's jump over to Genesis. Let's actually read that, Genesis 10 and 4. I had that down, Genesis 10 and 4.
The book of Genesis, chapter 10 and verse 4. And the sons of Javan, Elishas, and Tarshish, and Kittim, and Dodanim.
Right, so Kittim is the son of Javan, is the son of Javan, right? How you say it? Is that the progenitor of the Javanites?
Progenitor?
I think so. Yeah, you correct me. So Javan is the progenitor of the Javanites, okay? So that's who occupied the land at first. So when we skip over to the book of Luke, right? Let's get Luke chapter 1 and verse 5.
The book of Luke, chapter 1 and verse 5. There was in the days of Herod, the king of Judea.
Right, so in the days of Herod, there was a king of Judea. So Herod, he wasn't an Israelite. Herod wasn't a Jew. But how can this Edomite become the king of Judea? It's through that blessing that Esau got from the father. The blessing that he got is that he's going to dwell in the lands, in the fatness of the earth. So during the time of Alexander the Greek, what do you hear about? You hear about him conquering various lands. You hear about him and his 4 generals. Let's actually touch on that real quick. Go back to 1 Maccabees 1. I'm sorry, I'm jumping around, but 1 Maccabees 1. And let's read verse 2.
1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 2. And made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth.
Right, because he was blessed with the sword. He made many wars and slew many kings. Read on.
And went through to the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations. And so much that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted and his heart was lifted up.
Right, so that's how you have this white man, the so-called white man, this Edomite, end up being the king of Judea through the many wars of taking over the land and through our sin. Because remember this, the curses in Deuteronomy 28. It's through our rebelliousness and our sin that the heathen came to be lords over us. Right. That's the only reason why. So while you have the Romans in the land of Judah, the land of Benjamin, the various provinces in the land of Israel, the only reason why they are ruling is because we are living that curse through the disobeying God's commandments. Right? Never forget that. Because at the end of the day, that's what we need to do in order to get back to the top of this country. Oh, the top of the planet, excuse me. Whew, I said the top of the country. The blessing is a lot bigger than just America. We got to go out. We got to go to South America. We got to go to Europe. We got to go to Australia. We got to go to Oceania. We got to go to Asia. We got to go to Japan, through China.
1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 6. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable and had been brought up with him from his youth.
Right, because that's what it said, his friends. He brought up his friends that he grew up with. Read on.
And parted his kingdom among them.
And he parted his kingdom among them. Read. What? And there's a reason why we're reading this in the blessings of Esau. There's a reason why we're reading this part right here. Keep going.
While he was yet alive. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died. And his servants bear rule, every one in his place.
Right. So who are the servants? There's an acronym that you could use called SPLC. So you have Seleucus, you have Ptolemy, you have Lysimachus, and you have Cassandra. Right? So those are the friends who he brought up and imparted the land and gave it to him, gave them rulership, gave him that dominion. It's going into the 4 generals. Read verse 10.
Verse 10. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been hostage at Rome. And he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks.
Right, and we touched on that earlier. So what does Antiochus, surname Epiphanes, mean? That means God manifest on the earth. God manifests on the earth. I said we touched on that earlier. Let's get back to it. If you can't connect the dots, go to 2 Thessalonians 3.
2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition.
Read on.
Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God.
Right, so who exalted himself above all that is called God? So who else did that? That white man in the land of Israel today.
Message.
Netanyahu. Can you find that for me? What does Netanyahu mean? Netanyahu. Broadcast is going to find it in just a minute. Finish the verse out. Start at the top of verse 4.
Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God.
Right.
Or that is worshipped. So that he, as God.
So he, as God, read.
Sitteth in the temple of God.
Sitteth in the temple of God. Go ahead.
Showing himself that he is God.
Showing himself that he is God. So just like what we read in 1 Maccabees 3 and 48, they paint themselves like the Most High God. They change the colors of the angels to look like them. They change Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, to look like them. They change the Heavenly Father to look like them. So let's read this definition.
Netanyahu is a Hebrew surname meaning given by Yahweh, God. Combining Natan, to give, and Yah, God's name, it's famously associated with the family of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, whose father adopted it when immigrating to Palestine as part of a common Zionist practice.
Yo, hey, y'all just exposed him. Hey, y'all just exposed him right there. He just said that his father adopted it when immigrating to Palestine. Immigrating from where?
The hell is
Immigrating from where? But that's a topic for a different class, okay? But we touched on it here already. They immigrated from where? I ain't even gonna go into it. But they are converts, just like how Herod is. How Herod is a convert here. They are converts. They set up the Balfour Declaration, and oh Lord have mercy, we got to go into it now. Hey, I sent you a link to the Balfour Declaration. I had it later, but hey, sometimes things just come out. So that's lower down. There you go. The Balfour. I can't say it. The Balfour Declaration. All right, read that, please.
The Balfour Declaration was a public statement issued by the British government in 1917 during the First World War, announcing its support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine, then an Ottoman region with a small minority Jewish population.
All right, stop. It should say it somewhere down. Where did these people come from? Because they came from, scroll down.
Earlier that year, Balfour had successfully driven the Aliens Act through Parliament with impassioned speeches regarding the need to restrict the wave of immigration into Britain from Jews fleeing the Russian Empire.
And that's where they came from. That's where the Jews came from. They came from the Caucasus Mountains of Georgia, Russia. All of that area where you see Ukraine and you see Poland, all of those people that came from that Russian Empire, those are where they came from. So that's why they set up the Balfour Declaration in order to set up and take over the land. Similar to what Alexander the Greek is doing in the time of the first Maccabees. He won the land by war, then set up his people to reign over the various regions. Now you have a white man being the king of Judea, right? So we could drop that, go to Acts chapter 13. Acts 13 and 1. So what we're about to go into, we're about to see how the white man gets so comfortable around us. He grow up with us. He learns our ways. He does whatever he needs to do to deceive us. Then he takes over the land. That's what we're going into right here. Read Acts 13 and 1.
The book of Acts, chapter 13 and verse 1. Now there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers, as Barnabas and Simeon, that was called nigger.
Right. So Barnabas and Simeon was called nigger. Nigger just means black. It just means black. Read on.
And Lucius of Cyrene, and Manaen, which had been brought up with Herod the Tetrarch and Saul.
Right, which has been brought up with Herod the Tetrarch. That word Tetrarch means he was governor of multiple cities. All right? But Herod was brought up with these Jews that was called nigger. And he was brought up with Saul living amongst us. You know how we have these neighborhoods? That's why the Lord had to tell us when we're amongst the heathens, don't marry their women, because our soul will incline onto them. And we will start having children with them. Then our children will forget y'all don't remember that in the book of Nehemiah?
Message.
Our children will start learning their ways and following after their gods. Solomon had that same warning. A lot of people like to say Solomon had many, multiple wives. But Solomon went off into idolatry. So when we're around the heathen, we're not supposed to mix and mingle with them, because the Lord said, do not trust them. They are our enemies, okay? Let's jump over to Acts chapter 18. Acts 18 and 24.
Acts chapter 18 and verse 24. And a certain Jew named Apollos.
Right, so we're talking about a Jew that was named Apollos. Go ahead.
Born at Alexandria.
Born at Alexandria. We're going to get into Alexandria in just 1 minute. So Apollos was born in Alexandria. Go ahead.
An eloquent man and mighty in the scriptures came to Ephesus. This man was instructed in the way of the Lord, being fervent in spirit. He spake and taught diligently the things of the Lord, knowing only the baptism of John.
Whoa, I'll read verse 25 again.
This man was instructed in the way of the Lord.
So this man was instructed in the ways of God. Read.
Being fervent in spirit.
Being fervent in spirit. Because a lot of times you might not remember precepts like the other brother next to you. You might not be so efficient in some of your offices. But as long as you have that fervent spirit, you don't need to know every precept. You don't need to know every prophecy. You don't need to know the Bible from cover to cover. As long as you have that fervent spirit, the Most High God is going to dwell with you. He's going to start dealing with you. Read.
That's right.
He spake and taught diligently the things of the Lord, knowing only the baptism of John.
Read.
And he began to speak boldly in the synagogue. Whom, when Aquila and Priscilla had heard, they took him and unto them, and expounded unto him the way of God more perfectly.
Right. So this man was fervent and teaching the word of God.
Yeah.
And mind you, he said he was born at Alexandria. Let's flip over to the book of Acts chapter, where are we at? Acts chapter 6. Acts chapter 6, and let's read verse 8.
The book of Acts chapter 6 and verse 8. And Stephen, full of faith and power, did great wonders and miracles among the people.
Right, so Stephen, he was a powerful man. He did great wonders among the people. Look what the Lord said about Stephen.
Then there arose certain of the synagogue, which is called the synagogue of the Libertines, and Cyrenians, and Alexandrians, and of them and of them of Cilicia and of Asia, disputing with Stephen.
So they were disputing with Stephen. Read verse 10.
And they were not able to resist the wisdom and the spirit by which he spake.
Right, so we got men who was learned in the wisdom of this world, and they thought Stephen was stupid or he was ignorant. They thought with their wisdom, they could rebuke Stephen and correct him. But guess what? The Lord was dealing with Stephen at this time. It says they were not able to resist the wisdom and the spirit by which he spake. Now I said we're going to get into Alexandria a little bit. I want you to pull up that map broadcast. So I got a map. There we go. So this is the Ptolemaic Egypt. This is 240 BCE. So remember, we talked about Alexander the Greek giving the land to his 4 friends where he grew up. All right, so just focus on the yellow, the purple, the orange, and the green. Now zoom back out. All right, so we have Alexandria, and it's in the blue. This is part of Ptolemy's reign. And you have Cyprus. Remember, we discussed Cyprus is a blue island. Might be hard to see, but it's blue in the middle of the ocean. All right, it says Cyprus. And to the right of that, you know, Damascus, you have Tyrus, so on and so forth. So you have the land of Israel today. Go to the other map. We could drop that map now. Now the other map is a little bit more clearer. There we go. So the Ptolemaic kingdom, we could zoom in on that same area, please. So just trying to put everybody into the perspective. All right. See right there. So you have Jerusalem. You can stop. You have Jerusalem. Where you see the stripes at? Lower. There you go. You have Jerusalem. And then towards the left of that, you see Alexandria. All right. So these weren't Jews who just sat in Jerusalem. They actually went back and forth. You could take a horseback, a donkey, whatever you need. Take a carriage. You could go back and forth from Alexandria to Jerusalem. Okay. It's not that hard. So read verse 9. Let's get back into it. Read verse 9 again. We're going to read down to verse 15.
Acts chapter 6 and verse 9. Then there arose certain of the synagogue, which is called the synagogue of the Libertines, and the Cyrenians, and the Alexandrians, and of them of Cilicia and of Asia, disputing with Stephen.
Right. So what we're going into right now, we're going into learned, quote unquote, learned men who thought they knew better. Because we deal with that today in 2025. Men who go to the seminary schools, who go to the theology classes and so on and so forth. They become apologetics. They see a nice YouTube video. They download a good DVD. You know, all of a sudden, they think that they could dispute with men who keep God's commandments.
You don't know nothing.
They don't know nothing at all, right? And we're about to go into that. Read verse 10.
And they were not able to resist the wisdom and the spirit by which he spake.
Because they're carnal minded. They think that because we may be young, you might find a 22, 25-year-old, then you got an old man who's been in the Christian church for 50 years. They'll come up to camp and they might think that they could dispute with a young man. But the young man in purple and gold, that young man is learnt in the words of God. He knows way better than a man who spent 50 years in a Christian church. And that's what we try to teach our brothers and sisters out there in the streets. We try to just show you the simplicity that is within Christ. That's it.
Right.
Because a Jew, I got to talk about Amalek now. Because a Jewish man today, they'll say they could claim that they are a descendant of David or David or Solomon. They come from Judah because of their mother. But you know what we say? Let's get Numbers chapter 118. This is what we tell them. Numbers chapter 118. It's very simple when you start keeping the laws of God. It's a simple thing. Numbers 118.
Numbers chapter 1 and verse 18. And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their father.
You see how simple that is? You declare your lineage from your father because the man has the seed. So whatever the man is, he plants that seed, that's what is going to spring up. That's why we don't go by the mother, we go by the father, by the father's lineage. We could go back, Acts 6 and 11.
Acts chapter 6, verse 11. Then they suborned men, which said, we have heard him speak blasphemous words against Moses and against God.
Right, so these men, they said, hey, what Stephen is speaking, that's blasphemy against God. Go ahead.
And they stirred up the people and the elders and the scribes and came upon him and caught him and brought him to the council.
You see how it says, and they stirred up the people? They always want to make a loud show and gather people because you got to think about it. We're living in a simulation. Think about the movie The Matrix. In that simulation, like The Matrix, when you start doing them crazy, you start running up on the walls, you start doing your flips, your jumps and your skips, and you start dodging bullets, and the regular civilians, the people walking around the street, they see you. They're going to be alerted. They're going to look at you like you're doing something that's off the wall. Then, bam, at a snap of a finger, they turn into an agent. All of a sudden, you have Mr. Smith coming to get you and to subdue you. Then you have the men with the suits. That's why we got to stand together. When you see there's some of that leadership that we showed a while back. I think it was on Fixie Face, where we showed the different ways that the civilians, the people out there in the world, how they came up against us. How they started pointing guns towards us. How they try to run over us with a dang car at camp. How they shoot at us. Those are those same people turning into agents of Satan. The same exact thing is going on here, stirring up the people. Keep going.
Verse 13. And they set up false witnesses, which said, this man ceaseth not to speak blasphemous words against this holy place.
That means he didn't stop speaking blasphemous words against this holy place. They calling their place holy. Because mind you, this man told me the Romans, the Greeks, they set up the people in charge. They set up the big school in Alexandria. They set up all that wisdom of the world. They set that up. They said this is the way. This is the way of the Lord. But this man, what Stephen is saying goes against what was set up by the white man. Okay, read on.
And the law. For we have heard him say that this Jesus of Nazareth shall destroy this place.
And that's what we saying when we go to the streets. Right. That Jesus of Nazareth, Jesus Christ, the black Messiah, will destroy this place here in America. He's going to destroy it. Go ahead.
And shall change the customs which Moses delivered us.
What they say today, oh, you're trying to take away Christmas. You're trying to take away Thanksgiving. You're trying to take away New Year's. I love my Christmas. That's what they say today. I love my Christmas. This is family time. Oh, I do it for the kids. Read verse 15.
And all that sat in the council, looking steadfastly on him, saw his face as it had been the face of an angel.
Right. So they saw him and it was like, oh, man. This man is filled with the Holy Ghost. This man is filled with the Spirit of Christ. Broadcast, pull up the school in Alexandria. Pull that up so the people could get that image of what was going on there. Alexandria. It's a link. You can start with the library.
The Library of Alexandria, founded in the 4th century BC under the Ptolemies, was the ancient world's greatest center of knowledge, housing vast collections of papyrus scrolls. It attracted scholars from diverse cultures, advancing science, philosophy, and medicine.
Right, so this is a very, very big library that the worldly scholars will go over and they'll get some knowledge. They'll start reading some books. They'll get some, mind you, it says advanced science and philosophy. That's the same theology that we hear in the streets today, that we hear in TikTok and in the YouTube and the Instagram and Facebook, so on and so forth. It's the same thing. I'm going to show you. And mind you, it said the Ptolemaic Empire. This is a white man who set this thing up. Read on.
Over time, political instability and destruction led to its decline and eventual disappearance. Despite its loss, its legacy continues to inspire modern libraries, including the Bibliotheca Alexandrina, preserving its vision of learning and intellectual progress. The ancient library of Alexandria is by far the greatest and most inspirational library in the history of the ancient world.
Okay. Okay. Read the next sentence. I like this sentence right here.
It was the cure of ignorance, the key to enlightenment, which created the foundation for the future innovation of the ancient Egyptian.
Man, whoever wrote this is hilarious. This is it's the cure of ignorance. Okay.
Denied.
The cure of ignorance. That's ridiculous. Okay, the cure of ignorance. But it's just funny because it lets you know the thoughts of the people here in the book of Acts. They thought, oh, we're going to go to this school, we're going to go to this library, we're going to get the wisdom, and we're going to get enlightened with the truth of the world. So, let's jump over to Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 48. Let's not forget the curse. Let's not forget the curse. Deuteronomy 28 and 48. Read it when you get it.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies.
Right. So we were cursed to serve our enemies. Go ahead.
Which the Lord shall send against thee. In hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things.
So in the want of all things, that's why you have us going to the white man's great, vast library. And the want of all wisdom to cure the ignorance. Basically, stop being a nigger. I am enlightened with the white man. Go ahead.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
Right, until he have destroyed thee. Now, how were we destroyed? Give me Psalms 49 and 11. How were we destroyed? How was the so-called black man destroyed? Psalms chapter 49 and verse 11.
Psalms chapter 49 and verse 11. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever.
So Esau's thought is that their house will continue forever. That's why it's important when you enslave a nation of people, you're going to take their name from them. You're going to take their legacy, take their history, and teach them what you want them to know. Because now, when we think about the great engineers or the great wise men, you think of who you got. You got Einstein. You have Tesla. You have Oppenheimer. I'm thinking way back, like Plato. Plato is one. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling place to all generations. Their dwelling places to all generations. When you go to a new land and you conquer the people and you put your flag in that land and you start calling that land after your own self, you start calling the people Native Americans, you start calling the people African Americans, you start calling the people the people in South America, you got Mexicans, you got Portuguese, you got Brazilians, so on and so forth. That's how you destroy your people. You no longer have to have them in the chains and the yoke of iron anymore. They only got to go back to like Umar Johnson, your friend over there. He's going to say the original black man, the Aborigines, so on and so forth. I'm an African. But African just means, what did that name come from? African. Africa. Who did it come from? It ain't come from a Hamites. It ain't come from no Canaanites. It came from the white man. Okay? It came from the white man, right? Look it up. So read 11 again.
Psalms chapter 49, verse 11. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names.
Right, so they call their lands after their own names. Go ahead. Wait, that's it?
Yes, sir.
All right, so Let's find that inward thought that their houses shall live wherever. So I made some references of the physical land. Now let's see how they attacked the minds, how they attacked that religion or that belief in their God that they want us to love and serve. All right. So there's an image. It says, it's an article that I sent you, a screenshot of an article. There we go. So zoom in. Read that part. So what we're reading right now, this is on the website princeofpeacetailors.org, the seminary process for dummies, right? So this is something that we got to know about the seminary process or the seminary schools. All right, the studies and process. Read it.
The Catholic Church mandates that for a man to become an ordained priest, he must study first philosophy.
He must study what?
First philosophy, then theology.
Hold on. Didn't we just read that? Where did we just read that?
The Library of Alexandria, founded in the 4th century BC under the Ptolemies, was the ancient world's greatest center of knowledge. Housing vast collections of papyrus scrolls, it attracted scholars from diverse cultures, advancing science, philosophy, and medicine.
Right. So it's the same thing that's going on here. The same thing. So the white man who set up your Catholic Church, he has took on that same spirit from his forefather Ptolemy, which set up the library and how do I want to say? I want to say the education system of the philosophers of the past. It's the same spirit that's going on today in the Catholic Church. Let's go back to the next article. The other one, the studies in process. The Catholic Church, they're still doing the same exact thing. Pick up where you left off.
In the Diocese of Charleston, the seminary process has always been about 6 to 8 years.
Start from the top.
The Catholic Church mandates that for a man to become an ordained priest, he must study first philosophy, then theology.
Basically, you got to come to our schools, nigga. That's what he's saying. Read on.
In the Diocese of Charleston, the seminary process has always been about 6 to 8 years. 2 to 4 years of philosophy and 4 years of theology.
Right. Now, I know that a lot of African Americans aren't quote unquote Catholics, but that's who set up the Christian church. But if you would still want to be ignorant, we got something for you coming later. But the brothers and sisters, the Northern Kingdom, no matter where you go on the planet Earth, you find Catholic churches. They took over the whole planet. You could go to Oceania because, Bougainville, they got Catholic churches. In Papua New Guinea, they got it. Fiji, they got it. Australia, they got it throughout India. Throughout India with the Siddhis and the Dalits. You go to their villages, it's in there too. Throughout North and South America, you find Catholic churches. And they always rotate and they got to visit every once in a while. Let me make sure they ain't going too far off. Let me make sure I conquer their mind to know how much longer I have. Because that's what they're doing. They want to find out how much longer I have to rule over the planet Earth. Because they know that their time is ticking. Keep going.
However, the United States bishops decided in 2022 to mandate a year of prayer and service called the propedeutic year before a seminarian goes full force into studies. This change goes into effect August 2023 and makes the formation process now 7 to 9 years at the minimum.
So you mean to tell me, you know how in the body we'll have new, like, quote unquote regulations or new orders to come up in order to like change how we're moving, how we're governing as a body. But then we have people who will buck up against it, who might want to leave because, you know, we might have a new system they got to go through or a new policy of how we do things. The white man, he's still changing his doctrine. He's still updating it. I'm not going to say changing. He's still updating it till this day. He's not going to stop because As time goes on, we need to be better as a people. Things need to evolve.
Right.
But continue. Once entering
studies, a seminarian will take one of the following paths. If you are entering out of high school, you must study philosophy.
Damn, straight out of high school. You got to study philosophy. Go ahead.
For 4 years as your major in college to get your undergraduate degree. For transfers, you will just need whatever amount of time left to finish undergrad with a major in philosophy, which of course may put you behind your original graduation date.
Right. So you gotta think, because I said earlier, it's the same mindset was going on today that was set up in times past. So how these men were so puffed up with their pride, with that worldly knowledge, they was going through years of study. That's why they thought they was able to confound a man like Stephen.
Message.
Y'all understand? So we could drop that. Let's go over to Acts chapter 4. Acts chapter 4 and verse 13.
Acts chapter 4 and verse 13. Now when they saw the boldness of Peter and John, and perceived that they were unlearned and ignorant men.
Right, they perceived that they were unlearned and ignorant. You know, what you wearing them fringes for, right? Why y'all look like the Q dogs? Why y'all look so militant? Why you got boots on for? You going to war? You going marching? Why y'all wearing purple and gold? Y'all Power Rangers? They thinking that we're ignorant. We might have some tattoos on our arm. You might have a afro. You know, we might not look like, you know, learned men here in this world, here in America. But guess what? Read on.
They marveled, and they took the knowledge of them that they had been with Jesus.
They marveled at us when they see us in the men's conference. They marveled at us like, what is going on here? This is the end of our kingdom. That's what they thinking. That's what they know. That's what they understand. Black unity. Because this is not a skin color, just a black Hebrew Israelite group. That's nonsense. This is an organized nation.
Outstanding.
We're bringing the nation of Israel back today. You don't recognize it because you're used to soft-spoken, effeminate white man giving you sandwiches and gifts on Christmas.
Stop the cap.
Yeah, stop the cap. All right, we could drop that. So I want you to show these images. So I got images of the pristine schools that is set up today. So that's one image. Hold on. I got a description on that, right? Let me see. So that is the Dallas Theological Seminary School that your pastor might fall under. Your pastor might fall under one of these schools that we're about to show you today. So the Dallas Theological Seminary School, right? Show the next image. This is Fuller Theological Seminary School. Fuller Theological Seminary. Set up the next one. All right, this one is the Union Theological Seminary in the city of New York. Union Theological Seminary in the city of New York. Go ahead. Next one. This one is the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. Next one. Interdenominational Theological Center. All right, Interdenominational Theological Center. However you say this is nonsense. But these are the schools. When a white man wants to conquer you, he gonna get so comfortable. He gonna conquer you, take your name away, and set up schools in honor of him. In honor of him, setting up himself as God. Read 1 Maccabees 3 and 48. How they set themselves up as God.
1 Maccabees chapter 3 and verse 48. And laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images.
Right, so the heathen, they thought to paint the likeness of their images. When you go into all these various schools, we will say Christ is a black man. You know what they will say? Color don't matter. But then you got a white man. Find Caesar Bow. Find Caesar Borgia. You'll find the white man set up in their classes on their cell phones at home. You'll see the white man at their house. And they may not have a picture, but they got the same doctrine. Wait. Look at this. We type in white Christ. You see what they trying to do? They trying to type it. They trying to show us a dark-skinned image. That man looked like like a Elam or something like that. No. Christ is described as a black man from the tribe of Judah. Who are the black men from the tribe of Judah? Who do they look like? Like the African Americans who you're putting in prison houses.
Message.
Like the black mans who you gun down. Like the ones who you have as your basketball players.
Right.
The ones who are the so-called leaders in our communities. That's what Christ looks like. Not this man right here. But you have Caesar Bow on the left. You can click on that image, make it bigger. You have Caesar Bow. Please.
1 Maccabees chapter 3, verse 48. And laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images.
Right, so the heathen sought to paint the likeness of their images. Is that it? Is that it on 348? Okay, so they got so prideful to set up the likeness of their images. I'm about to close it out. So we got Caesar Bow, who was set up as God. He's set up as the Heavenly Father who's going to save all the little black boys and girls. Red, yellow, black, and white. They are precious in His sight. That's what they do. That's what they do. So let's see how precious the white man actually thinks you are. Article, Micah 2:2.
The book of Micah, chapter 2 and verse 2. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage.
So they covet your fields, and do they ask for it, or do they vote and set up democracy and vote for the lands? Read it again from the top.
And they covet fields.
They covet fields.
And take them by violence.
They take them by violence. It's not by voting. They'll tell your black Mahan to vote. They'll tell you to join the local Congress, be a representative for your state.
Right.
They'll tell your black Mahan to do that. But guess what? They're not following by those rules. They taking the land by violence. They don't like you. They're going to take the land and phase you out, which is exactly what they did here in America. Exactly what they did. Phase you out of the lands. So they covet fields and they take them by violence. Go ahead.
And houses.
And
take them away.
They take them away. Read.
So they oppress a man and his house.
So they oppress a man and his house. To be under that oppression means that you ain't going to rise up again. You will not rise up to be what God ordained you to be. That's how they oppressed you. Go ahead.
Even a man and his heritage.
And now they start claiming that they're God, that they're the sons and daughters of the living God. They start calling themselves Israelis. They start calling themselves Netanyahu. That's what they do. They say, you know what? We're the people of God now.
Come on
and
now,
we're going to take the land. We're going to kill the Palestinians because this is our land. And anybody who speaks up against us, you're anti-Semitic. They'll take your money away. They'll take your sponsorships. They'll take the basketball deals you had, the record label that you had, the shoe deal that you had. They'll take it all away. They call you anti-Semitic and shun you from the nation. All right?
Damn!
Let's read this article, National Archives. So the American Indian Treaty. So we all know the white man came here on this land and he ain't asked for it. He took it by violence.
Right.
But then you might think the white man had a heart. You might think that he's a peaceful man. Why else would he set up treaties? Well, let's read about this peaceful treaty that they set up. Scroll down. Oh, right there, boom. That's what we want. Nope. Yeah, okay. Yeah, read the first paragraph.
From 1774 until about 1832, treaties between individual sovereign American Indian nations and the United States were negotiated to establish borders and prescribe conditions of behavior between the parties.
Okay, stop it right there. Now, none of us are word scholars, okay? The white man will have a word, change the definition in about 2 or 3 days. But that word sovereign, right? Don't that mean independent? Don't sovereign mean broadcast? Can you highlight sovereign and put it in Google?
Sovereign, having unlimited power or authority.
So you have, it says limited or unlimited?
Unlimited.
So having unlimited power or authority. You know what? Let's get the biblical definition. Wisdom of Solomon 6:3, because that ain't hitting what it needs to hit. Let's get Wisdom of Solomon chapter 6, verse 3.
Wisdom of Solomon chapter 6 and verse 3. For power is given you of the Lord.
So power is given from who?
You of the Lord.
So power is going to be given to you of the Most High God. Read on.
And sovereignty from
and what?
And sovereignty.
And sovereignty. Read.
From the highest.
So that power that God is going to give you, that's that ultimate power that's going to come from the Heavenly Father. Not by no white man treaty. Not by you finding a technicality in the white man's government. No, that's going to come from the Lord. Read it again.
For power is given you of the Lord. And sovereignty from the highest.
So sovereignty is going to come from the Most High God. That's when we rule the planet with the rod of iron.
That's right.
Let's read Revelations 2. Then we'll get the article. Revelations chapter 2.
The book of Revelations chapter 2 verse 26. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works until the end, to him will I give power over the nations.
To him who overcome will I give that sovereignty. You're only going to be sovereign when the Most High come and give you that power. And what with that power, what are you going to be able to do?
And he shall rule them with a rod of iron. And as vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers.
So if you're going around the earth today saying that you are a sovereign citizen, you ain't got to pay taxes, you are exempt from getting a ticket for not having your license because you're traveling. Do you have power over the nations? Do you have power over the nations? No, you don't. Can you break the other nations with a rod of iron? No, you cannot. So let's go back to this treaty. So my sovereign Moors today, you got to wake up. Let's go back to the treaty, man. Let's go back to the treaty. So the oxymoron right here is individual sovereign American Indians. But that's a white man name. That come from Amerigo Vespucci, and Indian means slave. Hold on. American Indian. That's not a sovereign name. It should say Gadites from the nation of Israel. That's what it should say. It should say Reubenites for the nation of Israel. But you know what? If it actually said that, we ain't going to be writing no treaties. The only treaty that we need is right here. This is the treaty that the other nations have to follow.
Right.
All right. So it said they set up treaties with individual sovereign American Indian nations and the United States were negotiated to establish borders and prescribe conditions of behavior between parties. Okay. Send me, get the other link.
The treaties of Fort Laramie, 1851 and 1868. From the earliest days of the United States, the federal government had not known what to do about Indian tribes. Finally, in 1831, a case titled Cherokee Nation versus Georgia, the Supreme Court decided that Indian tribes were not foreign nations and were not states.
All right. So it says, mind you, the year is 1831. This is the treaties of Fort, how you say it? Laramie. 1851 and 1868. When was a so-called black man freed, quote unquote, from Abe Lincoln?
That's a good question.
It was 1863, right? Or 65. So 1865, we were supposed to be free, but then you have a treaty in 1868.
The hell is this?
Interesting. Interesting cycle of events. Let's continue reading.
Indian tribes were described as domestic dependent nations. As nations, Indians were not subject to laws of state.
Okay, so they said they weren't subject to the laws of state. That may have you thinking that they have some type of sovereign immunity, right? Read on.
However, the Constitution of the United States did not provide any guidelines for dealing with another nation within the boundaries of the United States.
Now, you hear what it says? The white man came on the land. They found the tribe of Gad. They set up a constitution in the tribe of Gad's land. But then they said, you know what? They're not subject to us, but the thing that we wrote, how are we supposed to deal with them? Okay. Read on.
This ruling also meant that Indians were not citizens of the United States.
Okay, now I want to scroll down a little bit. This is, all right. So this is the area, South Dakota. This is the area of the Black Hills, the Sioux Treaty lands and surrounding areas. So you see Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Wyoming. Basically this orange, scroll down. Let's see the legend so I'm not confusing it. So it says, as defined in 1851, Fort Laramie Treaty as found by the Indian Claims Commission. So Fort Laramie, which is down there on there's a little word that said Fort Laramie. You see that? So they got this area, this orange area. Now scroll down.
6 years later, in 1874, gold was found in the Black Hills.
Stop. So we have Indian land, we have Gad's lands, which they say they were sovereign, right? They were sovereign, but then, hold on. What you got over there, nigga? Got some golds? Okay. Got some golds? All right. Read.
Though the government offered to buy the land.
Okay, now, hey, can we buy the lands? I don't know if you see that thing over there. Can we get some of that? Read.
The Sioux tribes.
The Sioux
tribes refused the offer.
They said, no, white man, you cannot have our lands. Read on.
The Black Hills were sacred to the Sioux, and they would not sell.
No, you can't. We're not selling this land. You can't have it. Mind you, earlier we just read that they were not citizens. They were sovereign. They were set apart. They were not subject unto the lands. But the Constitution said nothing about dealing with people within the borders of the United States. Read on.
The Army did not prevent gold miners from entering the Black Hills.
Stop. Read that again.
The Army did not prevent gold miners from entering the Black Hills.
So that orange area, scroll back up. Stop. The Army did not prevent people gold miners from going into the Black Hills. The Black Hills is the orange area, and we see these different forts. That's where they set up their little armies. I said armies. That's where they set up their little military bases. But the Army not going to stop you. You know how white folks are so damn nosy? Like, you'll find something, you'll put up something in your own backyard, and all of a sudden your neighbor, they just come knock in or say, hey, what you got going on over there? That's what they do.
You a freak, boss.
Yeah, that's what they do, man. So damn nosy, all up in your business. Go scroll back down to the paragraph we was reading. So the Army, they ain't going to stop white folks because they know that gold is valuable. Word of mouth, that thing spread around, and all of a sudden you got people, get your shotgun, Fred. We going down to the Black Hills. That's what was going on. So it says the Army did not prevent gold miners from entering the Black Hills. Go ahead.
The federal government then demanded that all the Sioux report to the reservation. Sitting Bull and his band refused. More conflict followed. Treaties which were meant to bring peace led directly to more conflict.
Right, so hell no. So it started different wars, so on and so forth. Okay, let's get the next article. So I sent the Wikipedia as the next link. Okay, so this is the top. It says, what does it say? All right, so this is King Philip's War. King Philip's War. So this is another one of the quote unquote treaties that the white men set up to be peace. Scroll down to that portion he was just at. Okay, yeah. Read that.
King Philip's War, sometimes called the First Indian War, Metacom's War, Metacomet's War, and Pametacomet's Rebellion, or Metacom's Rebellion, was an armed conflict in 1675 through 1678.
Okay, so we had another armed conflict. We'll keep going for the sake of time. Jump down to the very last sentence. The war continued in the most.
The war continued in the most northern reaches of New England until the signing of the Treaty of Casco Bay on April 12th, 1678.
All right, can you click on Treaty of Casco Bay, please? So 1678. 1678, okay, the Treaty of Casco. Read down. I said read down, scroll down. You know what I mean. Read that, please.
The Treaty of Casco, 1678, was a treaty that brought to a close the war between the indigenous Donlan nations and the English settlers. There are no surviving copies of the treaty or its proceedings, so historians use a summary by Jeremy Belknap.
I bet you them treaties are in the Vatican. If they ain't burn it up, they hiding that thing somewhere in the Vatican. The white man don't get rid of stuff. They always like to preserve and put it in museums.
Right.
There's no surviving copies of the treaty or its proceedings. That's ridiculous. Get the last link. Let's find out. The Treaty of Casco. The very last link I sent you. Right, the Treaty of Casco, 1678. Let's scroll down. It says facts for kids. So easy. A child, a 5-year-old will understand. Keep going. I'll let you know when to stop.
Why the first treaty failed. Sadly, the English settlers did not follow the treaty's rules. Traders continued their old ways.
Yeah. I mean, is that a surprise? They didn't follow the treaty's rules? Come on now. Sadly, the English settlers did not follow the treaty. They don't even follow the rules that they set up in their own country here in America. They don't follow that. Read.
Traders continued their old ways, including unfair trade practices. Settlers also put fishing nets across the Saco River. This stopped fish from swimming upstream to the Wabanaki villages. English farm animals kept trampling through indigenous cornfields. Because of these problems, new talks and treaty attempts, like the 1703 Treaty of Casco, did not work. Conflicts continued.
Hey, you know what this goes into? This goes into Sirach 12 and 10. Sirach 12 and 10. All right, Sirach chapter 12, verse 10. Because you got to understand, they say the definition of insanity is when you do the same thing over and over and over again in order to find a different result. Read Sirach 12 and 10.
The book of Sirach, chapter 12 and verse 10. Never trust thine enemy.
Never do what?
Never trust thine enemy.
So God, who's going to give you true sovereignty, the Most High said, do what?
Never trust thine enemy.
He said, never trust the enemy. What are you doing? Dad?
For like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness.
Just like how iron will eventually rust, so will the wickedness come out of the so-called white man. Read on.
Though he humbleth himself.
Though he humble himself, because you got to think, to do a treaty, you got to be in the same room, you got to discuss terms over a table, go back and forth, writing it down. He gonna humble himself, try to come to a mutual agreement. Read.
And go crouching. Yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou had wiped a looking glass. And thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away.
His rust is still there. His evil, his wickedness will always be there. That's why you cannot change him. He does not have a soul. He don't have a conscience. If he had a conscience, what would he do? He would give us our land once again. He'll just hand it right over. He'll empty the bank accounts. He'll just give us all the money because he knows what his judgment is, all right? So that's going to be the end of the class, right? I pray you got something from this. Shalom, Most High in Christ bless.
Across the earth, the prophets move. From city streets to distant lands, the message is the same. Israel must rise. Through every quest, every journey, the truth spreads. No border can contain it. No distance can silence it. Our nation lives in every moment. In joy, we celebrate marriages. In sorrow, we honor our dead. On the Sabbath, we gather as one. Families rejoicing together, bound by the commandments of God. Yet are we tried. From the stones in Kenya to the hatred in Montana, we endure as a soldier of the Lord. And still, the mission expands. On the airwaves, on the screens, in every nation under heaven, Israel's voice is heard. We build our communities. We raise our children in royalty. We restore what was broken. We clean what was defiled. We show the world who we are. This is Israel united in Christ. Nation in motion. Nation endures.